Hi, I'm Alex Liu, and I'm presenting our paper, Emotional Labor in Everyday Resilience, Class-Based Experience of Navigating Unemployment Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic in the United States. During the COVID-19 pandemic, unemployment rates rose and the labor market slowed down. Job seekers face a shrinking number of jobs available. In the wake of this health crisis, institutions, policymakers, and academics have called for building and practicing resilience on an individual, organizational, and societal levels. This embrace of resilience often highlights a positive image of one's strength and ability in achieving favorable outcomes during the hardships. Under this rhetoric of resilience, one is expected to adapt to, cope with, and eventually bounce back from adversity and disruptions. In this paper, we dive deeper into the notion of resilience. Instead of focusing on the social science perspective of resilience that assumes resilience as informed, systematic, and well operationalized, the notion of everyday resilience attends to the mundane practices and negotiations that are often spontaneous and situational. Aligning with the notion of everyday resilience, CSCW scholars have explored ways that technologies can be designed and used to support individuals and communities' resilience in different contexts. Yet against this backdrop is the critique of the neoliberal appropriation of the notion of resilience. Critics have cautioned us of how the discourse of resilience risks emphasizing individual responsibilities and their moral obligations in bouncing back from disruptions and a crisis through self-development and self-re-engineering. Building on these sensibilities, our work joins the discussion of everyday resilience in CSCW, focusing on job seekers' navigation of unemployment during the COVID-19. Specifically, we asked, one, what challenges were faced by job seekers during the pandemic? And two, what resilience practices did job seekers adopt to navigate the disruptions brought about by unemployment and the pandemic? Building on a nationwide survey with 429 job seekers conducted at the beginning of the COVID-19, we conducted 23 in-depth interviews in the summer of 2020 to address these research questions. Among these 23 participants, 12 were working class job seekers with annual income lower than $40,000 and education lower than a college degree. Their last jobs included general labor, retail, fast food, customer services, and more. Another 11 participants were considered upper middle class job seekers with annual income higher than $90,000 and a college degree and higher. In contrast to working class job seekers, their last jobs included tech managers, analysts, administration, attorney, and more. Our comparative analysis identified four salient socio-technical practices that job seekers adopted to navigate their unemployment during the COVID-19. While these practices were shared across the social classes, working class job seekers were more precarious compared to their upper middle class peers in their everyday life. First, networking. Upper middle class job seekers discuss benefits of networking with professional connections such as past recruiters and coworkers to identify potential job opportunities on LinkedIn, whereas working class job seekers had to rely on personal social media platforms like Facebook. This sudden transition to online job searching on Facebook blurred the line between the professional and the personal for working class job seekers. The navigation of managing work life boundaries and self presentation on Facebook was especially emotionally draining for working class job seekers, especially for those who were new to online job searching. Second, reflecting on reskilling and upskilling. Upkeeping with the mentality of remaining competitive and relying on their existing resources. Our upper middle class job seekers discuss relying on this disrupted time as the opportunity to participate in ongoing education and skill development in order to prepare for future higher skill jobs. In comparison, no working class job seekers have done the same and consider self-upgrading as a privilege during this uncertain time. Compared to the upper middle class job seekers' resilience practices that entailed preparing for the future, working class job seekers had to focus on addressing their pertinent and immediate needs. Third, seeking emotional support. For our upper middle class job seekers, it was common to seeking emotional support and venting frustration on social media, which helped them to identify connections with shared experiences. However, no working class participants reported seeking or receiving emotional support via online platforms. Instead, they felt more comfortable with traditional ways of communication, such as phone calls, because the online support was perceived impersonal and less direct. Compared to the upper middle class individuals, working class people had to rely on their close family and friends, and oftentimes themselves, to digest and navigate their emotional distress. Finally, finding unconventional ways to work. For upper middle class job seekers, they started seeking unconventional jobs with lower salaries and lower skill requirement compared to their past jobs. For working class participants, some of them relied on word of mouth and turned to some local paid gig works in the community here and there, such as helping a neighbor moving. Next, we highlight two key contributions of our work in theorizing everyday resilience in CSCW. First, everyday resilience is a process of becoming resilient. This process is conditioned by one's ongoing adjustment to and negotiation with ever shifting social environments and relationships. Thus, resilience is beyond the binary state of being resilient and not resilient. Seeing everyday resilience as a practical achievement directs our attention to how the meaning of resilience is produced in the process of ongoing negotiation. Going forward, the questions we should collectively reflect on in designing for resilience should be redirected from outcomes of resilience to the process of how resilience comes into being. The critical questions we should ask in the design thus become: one, what resilience means when we design for resilience, and two, how we can better support the day-to-day negotiation and judgment involved in becoming resilient. Teasing out this process allows us to foreground everyday labor in negotiating the meaning of resilience. Our work uncovers that the process of becoming resilient is permeated with precarity, vulnerability, and feelings of frustration. Everyday resilience is effective and emotional. The common sentiment of "I'll get back up to doing it" required all job seekers to undertake labor emotion management and remain professional to continue participating in the precarious labor market. If the ongoing negotiation with one's situations and surroundings constitutes everyday resilience, then we must recognize that emotional and invisible work is indispensable to such negotiation. In addition, when we compare the emotional labor undertaken by participants from different social classes, we will also see the promise of resilience is unevenly distributed among different social groups and among class lines. With a growing interest in designing for resilience in our field, we propose that future designers and technologists move toward designing to support individuals' agency in resilience while attending to the opportunities to interrogate the broader historical and structural constructs. Recognizing this class-based distribution of emotional labor in building resilience also cautions us from romanticizing resilience and further exploiting the working class people in designing for resilience. The questions we should critically address in CSCW thus become: how can we reimagine the labor market and support alternative working methods while better supporting the negotiation and judgment activities embedded in job seekers' everyday resilience in the existing labor market? Please refer to our paper for more details and a detailed discussion of these questions. Thank you.